Oh man. Yeah, she is. All right, sweet. Yeah. She's probably going through a 2-year molar situation.
Yeah.
You have to see what Brad like Brad's situation was when
Well, he doesn't know because his parents are dead.
oh shoot, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I bought that chamomile, so I didn't get a chance because it was the middle of the night, so I didn't get a chance to give that to her.
That one really works good with chamomile ice cubes as
Okay.
well. So like how just even making a tea and then making the washcloth, like like if she wants to chew on something, it's hard on the molars because they don't want to chew as much as the front
Yeah.
like part, so it's
Yeah.
not like that big a deal to them,
Yeah.
as far as that goes. But yeah, that's something you can do.
Okay.
Our lady, the ice cubes she was making was fantastic, so she would
Yeah.
have just different herbal ice cubes.
Mm-hmm.
Usually chamomile. For inflammation, you can do some. I guess you could do a ginger lemon tea, but
Yeah.
then just freeze them and
Yeah.
make it like something out of it that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some just easy ones you could do, and then
Okay.
maybe it'll calm it down because those 2-year molars going in the back like that. A lot of times they're misconstrued as like ear infections, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they just make the kid feel like crap.
Yeah.
Typically, I almost automatically know if they get up and they're good. Your immune system doesn't work that way in a
Yeah.
true flu situation. You shouldn't be random, right?
Right.
Unless there's a tooth trying to like jam its butt through there and your whole body reacts.
Well,
So
that's what
yeah,
I freaked out at first, and then I thought, well, December 23rd, so not even a month ago, she kind of did the same thing.
yeah,
And so like I was sleeping next to her and I woke up and I kept feeling like she was like shivering. And I'm like, I kept feeling her head. And then like within about an hour and a half of her doing that, she got really hot. And then she woke up and said her stomach hurt. And a few minutes later she puked. And I kept a cool washcloth on her head and that, helped. So and then yeah, after the puking thing, which she's done that in the past too, when her fever spikes like that.
yeah. It's so
So
cool watching the human body do that, though. It's
well,
crazy.
and this
Like
one was
if you
able,
put it in that perspective,
yeah.
mom is hard because it's like, I tell you all the time, like when, Rachel was in that situation, she knew all the stuff we do, but then,
Yeah.
When you're a mom, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Like you're just
Yep.
more nervous about it than anything else. So
Well, and now because you've been telling me about the teeth thing for a long time, now it's like, okay, if she can break her fever that quickly, and
yeah,
kind of keep it gone, then I don't freak out after that.
right.
I'm like, okay, it'd be different if it was a constant 24-hour fever, but right now, lately, the last few times it hasn't been. So, but it is still stressful because you don't sleep and then you're exhausted the next day. So,
Oh God, yes. It's terrible that way.
yeah.
All right, Jess, welcome. We were just talking, getting some people on there. So I would like, and hopefully, I was checking on the Substack thing. That's pretty cool. So now, if you make it onto our Substack, which I will get the chat up here, just to make sure, I'll put everyone can watch that. So it's tribe1.substack.com. tribe1.substack.com will get you on an email list that I can send you out the Zoom link. So if anybody wants to join us via Zoom, like Jess has been doing, that would be awesome. Or you can just watch it on Facebook or, those kind of things as well. On Zoom, that's where we'll be able to take questions and, do those kind of things. Because tonight I'm pretty excited about tonight. It's, now I can't remember. Hang on. I can't remember. I had a really cool name for it that I thought I was starting with the mind in mind. So I find myself funny. And so that's all that really matters. I don't care if you all do. That's right. So I want to start with, let's get, let me get it rolling here. Let's get through the PowerPoint piece, and then from there we will kind of break it down. I got one little video from a guy. I was telling Amy, one of my favorite people, and I'll write his name down too. Dr. Bruce Lipton. The universe works in crazy ways, because this guy, when I was in chiropractic school, we got another. All right, Tim, that's right. So when I was in chiropractic school, we had this guy. It was crazy. He was our pathology teacher, and how he was just the coolest dude. It was really hard class, like high level pathology, which is like the toughest, craziest diseases you could hear about, and you had to like understand what they were and all those kind of things. Well, this dude was cool as crap. He was like in a rock band. After hours, he'd go to the bars and like do the rock stuff. Well, then one of his good friends he's a 3 or 4 time, you can find his books at Barnes Noble all over the place, like best-selling author. And his name is Dr. Bruce Lipton. He lives in, I think, New Zealand right now. I'm actually on, like, I could email him back and forth, and he kind of remembers me. It's been a minute, 22 years or so. But my hope is that I'll actually get to interview him on one of these at some point. But I'm gonna show you that video. He creates this thing called biology of belief, and that's going to be a big piece to what we're talking about tonight. So I'll get into the slides real quick, and then we'll go from there. So let's go there, and then slideshow. So, like every time, nature needs no help, just no interference. And so tonight is going to be about our brain. So these are the key points tonight, is why is psychology work so important? What is psychoneuroimmunology, which is a lot of times, not a lot of people know that word. However, it's a newer science that's actually out there, and we'll break that down. And what are the steps for a good meditation practice? And then how do we implement those? So those are the steps we'll go through tonight. Okay. Why is the psychology? Oh, I screwed that word up, didn't I, in there? Why is psychology work so important? In chiropractic philosophy, basically, we always go by the premise of above, down, inside out. And so what we mean by that, typically back then in the 1890s, that meant everything runs from your brain down to your nervous system to everything, but it all centers within us and then expands out, right? So we've always said one of our problems in our society is, and it's not a bad thing, but it's our philosophy of health versus sickness. So being a healthy person, we have to focus on above, down, inside, out, right? If we're sick, we may have to do outside in, right? But right now, our healthcare only looks like outside in is the only way to get healthy or to take care of sickness, right? So if I am like an outside in situation would be, I am taking a Excedrin for a headache, right? That's an outside chemical that you're putting inside your body to get an effect. Above, down, inside, out means I'm going to allow the nervous system and the healing body that created me to do the healing, right? And that creates that healthier person. And so one of the things that has occurred in, especially the guy I'm going to show is Dr. Bruce Lipton's work, is it's the above goes way above your little tiny brain. We have, well, my little tiny brain anyway. I typically don't have much up there, but this brain is just the beginning of this story, right? What we're going to talk about tonight is the consciousness. I like that word better than your brain and your thinking and, that kind of thing, but you're talking about your consciousness as you go forward. So the mind or the consciousness is the foundation. So if we think of above, down, inside out is how it goes. Our pyramid is actually backwards, right? So think of a food pyramid, right? So you have your foundation of your house, let's say. So your foundation of your house, you're going to build that first, right? And that always has to be the strongest part of the whole house. What this is showing you is our foundation of our house is actually our mind and our consciousness. And then it flows from that mind and consciousness down to the rest of us, right? They're down to, and basically the best example is when I'm feeling good, when good things are happening and all these good things, my whole health is better. Like if you win, let's say $10,000 on a scratch off ticket, and you're feeling pretty good about that. If you went to the doctor immediately after, I bet all your numbers would be better. And all of us would kind of agree to that, right? So our thinking is the foundation. And that's one of the things that we have to get our mind wrapped around if we're really going to go for this next level of health that we've always wanted, right? So this is how we create everything in our environment. It's this, what I like to call stinking thinking, is the key to creating this foundation that then we can start working on, right? You can have, and here's a good, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. So once we're able to grasp that the consciousness, our brain, that is where the foundation lies for us to be truly healthy beyond, just where we want to go, then we start seeing these changes that start manifesting for you in huge ways, right? So that is how we do that. Once we are able to take care of our consciousness and how our consciousness responds to the environment around us, now we've taken it to that next level of being able to adapt to. All right. Why is it? How do you train it up? Here's a good example. So this is what kind of our society has done to us, and I'm going to explain it. So years ago, when they had a circus elephant, you had this giant circus elephant that you had to train, and literally these elephants are in these tents that the elephant could take 2 steps and knock the sucker down and take off wherever it wanted to. If you think about that, how do they get that elephant to do what it's supposed to? Well, at a very young age, when they can handle the elephant, and it's not a very big elephant, they actually they have a chain around its leg, and it's tied to a post and then they dig it into the ground. Because that little tiny kid, or that little kid elephant, is running around and it can't get past this chain on its leg because it's not big enough yet, it begins to understand that is its limitation. Okay. So that's literally how they do it. Now, as the elephant ages, later, when they want to control the elephant or keep him in a certain tent, let's say, they just put the chain around his leg. They don't even put the spike in the ground. Isn't that kind of interesting? I always thought that was fascinating because it's a true story. That's how circus elephants are trained. And because once they have the mental picture of their limitation, all you got to do is put the chain on. You don't even need the effort of putting the spike in the ground, right? Even though this elephant is enormous now and it could wipe out the whole circus if it wanted to, but it just doesn't, right? And so that is an interesting concept of where we got to go with our consciousness. Okay. So we as when we're children, we literally are given our input. It's similar, unfortunately, to the chain on the animal. We are told what to do in school. We are told what to do on television. We are told, and all those different things. We are told all these different rules to live by, which is great in some respects, right? We don't want to go without anything, but our limitation of that consciousness starts to show up. Because sometimes, you need them to actually function in life, right? You need these limitations and rules and all those kind of things. But where is enough? How can we allow that expansion of our own mind to understand this, right? Simple example. Outside in, ready? Your kid cuts his arm. Sadie cuts her finger, right?
Mm-hmm.
She cuts her finger, and you say, just mentally say this, you say, I'm going to go get a Band-Aid, and that Band-Aid will fix the finger, right? So because you said that, now when you wrap that Band-Aid around Sadie's finger, she believes the Band-Aid is the thing healing her finger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Super simple concept. But if you, let's say we took the time and said, all right, Sadie, your body's going to heal it. We just need this Band-Aid to protect it, right? How are you going to do that? Right. So you got to figure out those beautiful ways to like say it to them so they can understand, like that it's not the Band-Aid that does the healing. It never has been, the Band-Aid like that.
Yeah.
But we have to understand that as we go. Like a good example is your favorite teacher, right? Most of the time, your favorite teacher was the one that challenged you to give them an output. Okay. So for me, Amy knows, probably Tim and Jess both maybe have met him. But Mr. Murphy was mine. Mr. Murphy I was like the only dude in this like advanced English class. It was all females and me. And so he thought that was the funniest thing that year. So one of the things that he would do, actually I had one other guy in there. So it was the two of us versus everybody else. And he would actually start with a challenge of like female versus male, whatever that was. And I'm like, Mr. Murphy, why do you keep doing that stuff? Right. So one of the neatest things is he got us debating on these different topics, whether, like, I think he just enjoyed watching these girls just whoop the crap out of us in a debate. Mm-hmm. But it was one of those that was just those teachers, those people that force an output. Like, don't just teach it, act upon it. Those are the ones you remember, right? So my mom she was taught for 40 years. And one of my favorite stories of her is this lady named Erica, who's now, I think she still is an artist, like a painter, because my mom kept putting she was so good in painting in like 6th grade. My mom would continue to push that to make her do these paintings. And every time she brought a painting in, she'd compliment those things. She created the output that now Erica has come back. I think it's a couple times, my mom has said, to actually Battle Creek to, to sell her paintings and stuff. So those are things that we just have to be able to understand how important this consciousness is, as we go forward. We need an output. We need this consciousness to do things to create this foundation of a healthier person, because you've never met a depressed person that has a healthy body. Give me one ever, right? That happens. Everybody puts themselves at this depression thing, but is it that depression down, those mental things that push you down are physiologically and organically taking you out, like all your stuff. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. All right. Let's see. Create your own picture. Yeah. So we want to, so the other thing is like, once we understand how to take control of our own consciousness, how to, create the outputs that we want versus other people, and stop allowing this stuff to come in, we'll stop being parts of the profit machines that are out there. Many of us, because we get trained as a young elephant with a chain around our leg, we start there. We say, okay, we got this chain around our leg. So now here's the drug for you. Here's the entertainment we think you would like, because we'll gear it towards what we taught you years ago. everything then becomes based on somebody's maybe bad intentions with making money off of you, right? So those are, like you're looking at social medias and like the constant flow of information. It's almost like you're being consumed, right? Your brain is being consumed for something else while you could be expanding this consciousness that is there. So, and that is what I want people to start to understand as we go through this 1% tribe as well. So once we create an environment that we control and we own those pieces, it's going to be a big time. It's going to be a game changer. It'll change your whole perspective on everything. But you have to build the foundation before you start building the walls, right? So we have to build this foundation before, let's say, the herbal stuff we talked about a couple weeks ago on the lungs takes hold as good as it could be. And that is a big deal. All right. So let's do this sweet, big, giant word. This is an actual word. It's called, what is psychoneuroimmunology? So we're going to go backwards. My favorite way to break these words down is go the other way. So you say immunology is the study of the immune system, right? Neuro is the study of the nervous system, which is the brain and all its nerves. So immunology is all the immune system, how you interact with all the bugs of our area and all these different things. You have a couple different kinds of immune systems. It's very intricate. Neuro is your brain and nervous system. Those two, just by itself, there's neuroimmunology, right? So the brain and spine control parts of your immune system. But now we add the psycho portion. So that's your consciousness or your conscious thought creating your neurological system to run your immunology. So what does that mean? It means that how you feel, right? Your stinking thinking will end up making you stink and sick, right? So that stinking thinking, down, depressed, all that, guess what happens? You get sick, right? So you get almost automatically sick as that goes. Is that true all the time? No, because there's actual sicknesses and bugs, and Amy gets to deal with that with daycares and all kinds of fun stuff. But in some respects, the random times that you're sick more often is because the brain, something else in your consciousness is not helping you get to that immune system part. This is actually a study. They might have degrees out there now actually on it. It's a whole field of scientific study now that's just getting started. And the psychoneuro, all of it, will be basically in our future. This is what we're going to, it's going to be the way it goes, right? Once we understand the psychology and what we're about to talk about with meditation, prayer, there's a lot to that, why that stuff works so well. There's actual reasoning behind that. It's, you don't have to believe it. It's real, right? You can know it. So we started saying with the above down inside out concept. In this concept, we are building our house from the foundation, which is the mind consciousness. We have to start there. So this is kind of an interesting thing. With a baby, what would you guess, Amy, is the first cells to form?
Oh, and a baby?
Yeah.
Brain.
Don't cheat. You cheated off the thing. But yes,
I can't see that. It's too little.
The brain and nervous system. So the brain and nervous system are the keys. We don't build our hands first, right? We don't build those things. So if the brain and nervous system are one of the first, we have to understand that there's a consciousness that is created in that time. In fact, one of my favorite studies is it was out of Italy, and they actually had a mom, and they put an ultrasound on the pregnant mother, and they had a simulated fight between the husband and the wife, and the baby flinched. It was startling. to a lot of the scientists because they just thought, oh, okay, it's just a bunch of cells trying to get together, kind of figured it out. Well, this baby actually flinches when the mom gets angry and yells or feels that anger moment. So, and that is true. You can see it in babies that grow up in a tougher environment. Sometimes they'll actually be thinner, more maybe more muscular. Why? Because they have a higher rate of what they call sympathetic nervous system response, which is your what we call fight or flight response. Because they grew up in a not so great situation, so they have to be ready for running, right? So, and then you have the ones that you grew up in this loving environment, and then you get this giant chunky monkey, right? So you get the big old one, more rest and digest systems, right? So, and you can see that in our lives today. All right. So let's start talking about what we came to talk about. So that was a little bit, and hopefully I know it's a lot, and we're going to go through it a lot. The 1% tribe is going to get pretty intense as we go forward because I love challenging and I love the question. So our first one, meditation. So meditation, there's a lot of different aspects. So I want to make sure we get into that. It's bullet point 3. Meditation is in every walk of any religion that is out there. Okay. So if you feel more comfortable with like prayers, meditation, quiet, guided, any of those, make sure you're using that, your spiritual connection, whatever is your strongest, I want you to go with. So it's not a certain meditation that's going to put you over the top and then have you lose 50 pounds. That's just not the meditate. I know that's kind of the world we're living in right now. If you guide this meditation, you start listening for 3 days, all of a sudden magically you're going to lose it, right? So consciousness without action doesn't lead to anything. That's what we talked about with visualization too. So if you know, Amy knows that one was pretty cool. We're going to get into that even more. Mike Dooley's awesome. So what you want to do first, I like doing this because it kind of sets a tone. We got to break the recording. Okay. So let's say there's something in your world. Make it like we did with visualization, make it simple. I don't like how I go into work every day. I feel like every time I get there, I'm miserable and just sighing and like, it just don't feel like I want to be there. And I just got there, right? It's the easy one. So write that down physically write it down on a piece of paper. This is where it's going to be a little different than visualization. So you want to set up an area in your house that is a very consistent place where you can get a good amount of quiet time. Okay. I always put this down. Try it from experience. Try not to do it in bed early because you'll pass out. And you think you have meditated and that doesn't work. So a lot of times you're trying to get into what they call just below consciousness is this level of sleeping called theta. It's a theta wave. Okay. So there's several waves. Forgive me because I don't know the rest of them to get to the deep one, but theta waves is almost like that. You almost get there like you're sitting at a pool and it's just a great day and no one's bothering you. And you're just kind of you're just enjoying everything you're seeing, right? So you're almost to that theta moment right there too. So you can have peaceful watching the sunset and relaxing, you're almost to that level of consciousness where you're just about ready to go to sleep. Is a lot of times where you can do some good manifestation and change, right? So I like to find what type of meditation that sits with you. Some people love the biblical text or the spoken word or whatever that is for you. Quiet meditation music. I prefer typically music, and I try to find there's this one frequency 432 hertz. That is kind of a cool scenario that people are coming into. You get the right tone, sometimes it can really be easy for you to drop into a meditation. I didn't put it on here, but usually about 10 minutes is a good meditation practice. Lots of different ones, and also guided. I'm sorry. So there's guided meditations that are really, really good out there that can start having you go down a really good pathway. So I've tried a lot of good ones. I mix between like just regular, nice, quiet music to guided meditations. If you get into guided, it's pretty cool if you get with the people that do it professionally, because there's people that live this, right? And we want to learn how they do that. Okay. All right. And so we discussed this in meditation, the difference between visualization and meditation that we talked about. Meditation is clearing your mind. Once you write that thing on the piece of paper, I don't want you thinking about it anymore. Not in a meditation, right? You're trying to get to the state of just pure relaxation. And that is the biggest thing. In visualization, you're basically like you're a kid again, and you're imagining playing with your toys, but you are doing it in your brain, right? You're imagining. And so that's how I would put that. So here's the other thing. So, and this happens more than you'd ever realize, but you could, if you get the right meditation and you do this on a consistent basis, you could find yourself having an emotional reaction. So crying, deeper meaning, you find these clarities and you don't know what to do with it. It's difficult, because one of the things that happened to me was when I started meditating on a regular basis, and I didn't notice it at first, but what was happening was I was doing a 10-minute meditation in the morning. And so now I do mine at night typically. But the next day I would have a stack pile of like just paperwork every morning. I'd have that. So I started going, and I'm feeling like, oh, it's just a good day. I'd always wake up with a nice mental framework for the day. But I noticed I was getting all my paperwork done. I became more efficient, and I didn't link it to anything. But then I go, wait, that has to be it, because it's just you know what needs to be done, and all of a sudden these things will start happening for you because the foundation's better for your day. Okay. So that's what tonight was all about. It's about starting with your consciousness first. Create the foundation, and then we can start living that holistic, healthy life as we build out. So that is where we're at.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah. So this is what I got, some references. So we got the physical space down. So you want to find a CD or an app. Okay. So a CD or an app or something. There's great ones out there, but find one that you like, right? Get a few, try some different ones. These are the apps that I like on phones right now. I recommend Calm all the time. Headspace is kind of hilarious because it's got like an Australian guy, but it really, for the beginners, Headspace is one of my favorites because it walks you slowly through and kind of improves you as you get into that. And then Insight Timer is kind of a weird app. It has a bunch of people that are pros at this, like meditation, yogi. There's many people that like to do these kind of things. And so you kind of find the person you want to, and then kind of listen to what they got, and then see if that's something you want to do later, right? And so the Insight Timer can go up to an hour meditation, so maybe even longer, but you can go down from 5 minutes all the way up to an hour, right? Whatever you feel you can do, because we're 1% tribe. I always say start with what you can do and start with what you can do consistently, right? So my day is basically starts with a visualization before the morning. So I even have little like note cards. that I have all my cool visualizations. Like one of my favorites is I want to go to Bora Bora in those little they're like, I don't know what they're called. They're little huts that sit over the water, and it's like your hotel room is like literally right there. And I want to do that so bad. So that's one of my cool little visualizations that I start with. And then at the end of the night, pretty much every night, I try to get a meditation in at least 10 minutes. And so I went as far as got like some Bose headsets for this. So it's not just the earbuds that were so common. So it's different on you. And then when you turn, so let's say you pass out, right? So when you pass out and your head rotates, that it kind of could wake you up. So that's why I did that, because those earbuds, you might just pass out and be done for that time. Just make sure if you do it at night, you set your alarm for the next day, because that first time you're going to be in trouble. So that's how I do that. All right. So now we can get into some questions if anybody's got any. Amy, you got any?
No. I think that changing your way of thinking can seem very overwhelming. So I feel like starting with little things, like when you wake up in the morning, think of 3 things that you're grateful for. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Kind of to ease into your day.
Changing thinking is hard because it's so programmed, right? Yeah. So you got to remember, we're talking about taking the programming that you were born with, right? And I'll do my nerd stuff real quick. But so from age infant to 6 years old, we are what we would consider a tape recorder. So this tape recorder comes in and we are recording our entire environment. Well, we're learning about how it's going, like relationships, how to deal with all those things. About 6 years old, from there, the tape recorder starts to play back, right? Now you're still learning as you go. You're still going to tape record some stuff, but now it has the life skills it thinks it needs, right? This baby coming up to do that. So what is, let's say you come from this environment at home, right? You had somebody let's say your dad hated work and comes slamming the door every day, right? So you learn that. Well, you learn that from 2 or infant to now, right? And now you got a job. So what's going to happen, right? Your program is going to lead you to coming out of work, slamming the door when you get home and not liking that, right? So those are things. It's a program. It's not you. It never has been you. It never will be you. It's just a program. We got to fix this. That's where Dr. Bruce Lipton has the coolest book. Hilarious. It's called The Honeymoon Effect. He couldn't get a girl for 40 years because he would piss them all off, blah, 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 right? He finally found a woman. When he discovered all this, he found out it's all programs. So he could change all his damn programs. Well, it's 40 years later, right? He meets his lady. She goes to some of his, I think you met her at David, right? And so they start to date. And then when he started getting into his old relationship, you could almost hear mom and dad start yelling at each other, right? She's like, knock that off. Stop the old program, right? And you go, oh, it is the old program, right? So very cool little way. It's called The Honeymoon Effect. It's a fantastic little book, just as a self-starter to this whole idea of the consciousness. And so, oh yeah, absolutely. I can do that. Tim, I will email the slides for sure. If you get on that tribe1.substack.com too, which it looks like you did, it'll be in there. The video presentation will for sure, but that's cool. All right, Jess, you got anything? Do I have to allow you to talk? I should get you both up there.
All good.
You're all good? Sweet. Now this is one that's near and dear to my heart because I've seen it. When you see a healthy individual, you know, yeah, I mean, all of us have seen it. You've seen the person that works out all the time, right? They work out, they look great, and it's all fantastic, you know, except for their brain isn't okay, right? So they're working out in essence to not die, right? They're like, they have this condition, they have that condition. But you go, dude, you look like you got a 6-pack abs and you have all this stuff. But you're like, no, no, no. And what happens to those people? Those are the guys that have something happen to them, right? And so, and it's not them, it's the program that they've heard over time. Like, and we'll talk about it many times over. Dominion. Dominion is the way that our world right now, our medical everything, tries to take control. If I say Jess has osteoarthritis and I'm her doctor and I'm wearing a lab coat and everything else, and she goes, yes, doctor, I have osteoarthritis. She's just accepted her level of consciousness. You know, I hope, and where this 1% tribe goes, I'm going to make sure I get some more of my podcasts. I've downloaded them in there. There's one, if you look up Shirley Braille, you'll see Glenn and Shirley Braille. Glenn was one of my patients that crazy traumatic story. So Glenn and Shirley, long time patient, all the time, love life, all that stuff. Hilarious. He was super hermit, like didn't want to leave the house. She was wanting to travel all the time. So they got at each other all the time with that, right? Jokingly. So one day their son came down with esophageal cancer. I believe, yeah, esophageal cancer. Didn't make it very long, literally passed away within like 3 to 4 weeks of the diagnosis. On the day, either on the day of the funeral or on the day of the diagnosis, Glenn, his father, gets the exact same diagnosis. Glenn and Shirley go through some pretty traumatic times because they lost a son that shouldn't have been, you know, like too young to have that happen. But then you saw something happen like with Glenn. And of course, being just a chiropractor, you're watching from the outside. And he started going, you know what? I'm going to just live, do what I got to do and live. He looked right at Shirley. They start, all of a sudden they buy a fifth wheel trailer. And she's like, what is this? She's like, we're traveling all over the place. You've always wanted to. And I don't think I got that much time, but we're going to see what happens. The thing that fascinated me was that Glenn basically forgot. He forgot that was supposed to control him. And he didn't scare him. He knew like that, you know, whatever, it was going to happen. He made it 4.5 years to 5 years, possibly, if I remember back. It's been a few things out there, way beyond like anybody's expectation for the severity of the condition. And so the mind over matter is a big deal. You can't really discount it. And it's not easy either, because we have this programming that I'm not good enough, you know, this limitation, it's this, it's that. There's too many good stories out there. Then I'll see if Amy will sneak those in there too, Tim. That's right. That was awesome. But but there's just too many stories out there. Good example. This is a true story too. There was a prayer group that went in. They were very good at like prayer meditation. I want to say they were Buddhist, possibly. They decided that they were going to show the world that they could do anything through the mind, the power of the mind. So they took arsenic and drank it. Now, one thing happened, while others would die instantly, right? These are things that happen. There was a Buddhist monk that one of the ways he was getting people clean was he would bring the person, heroin was his thing. I mean, he would just be able to help these people like nobody else. He would look right at them and he would sit down with them and do heroin with them. And he would have no effect. Why? Because the mind consciousness, because he had such control of his mind that he could do that. Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. These things are all over the place. And that's why Dr. Bruce Lipton's book is fascinating. Is it are we in a society that's a normal thing? No, not at all. But the reason is they've done such a good job at mind messing with us to make sure we have limitations so that those limitations allow them to make dollar bills. And so that is kind of how that goes, right? And so once we understand that, then we can start really doing the change that we need to in ours. So
yeah, I like it.
That's awesome. All right. Any other questions? I think we did good tonight.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Now we got to go watch who is it? The Ravens and the Bengals. You got to go watch that, Amy and Jess. I know that's what you've been waiting for.
Listen, no, way past my bedtime.
I know. You guys rock. I appreciate all of you. And all right, we'll see you next week. I think it's movement. Yeah. Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow, Amy. You're stuck with me. Make sure yours is not mad at Jeremy for talking too long. That should be your meditation. That's right. All right, guys. Well, if we have no other questions, we'll cut it and have a great night.
You too. Bye.
See ya.